This is Matthew Cratter from Bitcoin University, and today I wanted to talk about U.S. banks banning dissenters. I think we're going to see more and more of this, and it could affect you and your family at some time as well. We recently spoke about this happening in the UK to Nigel Farage, who a couple months ago said the establishment are trying to force me out of the UK by closing my bank accounts. I've been given no explanation or recourse as to why this is happening. Recently, this cartoon came out. I guess there's a whole scandal now at NatWest because of they debanked him, I guess, and lied about it. Please enter your PIN code and views on Brexit. And in a recent tweet, he says that he's soon going to be launching an exercise to gather together all of those who have been debanked. And it looks like there were quite a few, especially related to the Brexit movement. We have Christina Jordan here tweeting about it, and Henrik Overgaard Nielsen saying they had the same issues with a few British banks. So leaving aside for the moment any political opinions that you might or might not have about these people, the greater point of my video is that if the banking system can be weaponized against them, it can also be weaponized against you and your family when your political enemies take power. And what was happening in the UK is unfortunately now happening in the US as well. We learned yesterday that Dr. Joseph Mercola, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, he tweeted that Chase Bank has shut down our business bank accounts, along with the accounts of my CEO and CFO, as well as their family members, including spouse and child. They've refused to provide any reason for doing so, the oldest account having been active for 18 years. And it looks like Dr. Mercola had some views about recent medical events that someone at the banks didn't like. If you're enjoying this video so far, please hit that subscribe button. That will really help out the channel and its reach with the algorithm. Dr. Syed Haider also tweeted something similarly. He said, I just tweeted about how my business bank account and PayPal were shut down with no notice for no reason. And today my Airbnb rental was canceled 3 days into a 28-day stay. And now Mercola tweets that his bank accounts, along with those of his CEO and CFO, etc., are shut down with no due process. This is the passive-aggressive, dystopian, woke, social credit hellscape that is our dying country. Again, you may or may not agree with these people and their medical views, but you have to ask yourself, do you really want to live in a system that weaponizes banks against people who have not even been accused of a crime, much less convicted of a crime in a court of law following due process? This is what's happening to these people, at least appears to me to be extra-legal persecution carried out by some combination of the banking cartel, the medical cartel, the social media cartel, and the government cartel that ties it all together. And I believe that access to banking, medical care, utilities, electricity, for example, fresh running water, and modern forms of the public square, like social media, should not be dependent on whether a small group of insiders agree or disagree with what you think, especially when you're a professional and you have your own adult opinions, and especially when these insiders have inevitably been corrupted by money or political favors. The free exchange of ideas is essential not just to the ongoing American experiment, which has not been doing that well in recent years, but also to human flourishing in general. The free exchange of ideas is essential to human flourishing in general, because this is how we reach a consensus, this is how the truth gets flushed out, and this is how human progress is made. And we have to ask ourselves, do we really want to live in a CCP-like system? Song Ping Gong in this Twitter account is often documenting, here's an example, by law, Chinese citizens must install the government spyware, quote-unquote anti-fraud app, and if it detects you trying to install apps that the government has disapproved of, such as Twitter or cryptocurrency apps, immediately it sends an alarm to the police. The police will come for you and freeze your bank account. This is a more advanced system and a more advanced example of political persecution that we are seeing, and it's a logical extension of what's been happening in the UK and the US. We're not anywhere close to that, nor should we get anywhere close to that. And the thing is, these banks, it's not like they can operate from any sort of moral high ground. We have JP Morgan Chase agreeing to pay $920 million in connection with schemes to defraud precious metals and U.S. treasuries markets, in other words, manipulating these markets. And we also have the whole thing with this guy that JP Morgan appears to be complicit with. Again, this won't be the first time or the last time that banks have been weaponized against people in the West. We had Trudeau doing something similar against the truckers a few years ago. And again, it's not a question of what side you're on. It's a question of whether these people should have so much power over our bank accounts. And this really, all of this gives the lie to those first world privileged people who often comment on my channel, Bitcoin has no use cases except for speculation and gambling. And people who say things like this must be blissfully unaware that money and banks have been and will continue to be weaponized against people to stifle free speech, to control the political opposition, not just in totalitarian regimes, but as we're seeing increasingly in Western democracies. And banks and money will ultimately be used to control whole populations, like the CCP does to China with their system of surveillance, CBDCs, etc. And the coming global digital prison, if we don't fight back against this stuff and at least be aware of it, the global coming digital prison will include things like movement passports. We certainly have seen those over the past few years. Medical passports, we've seen those. Internet passports, which could be put in place after some sort of cyber attack, whether a false flag one or a real one. And money passports in the form of central bank digital currencies. And if you don't toe the party line, whatever that is, and as we've seen, it can really shift quite rapidly over the months and years. If you don't toe the ruling party's political line, all of your money could be instantly frozen by the central bank, especially under CBDC systems, central bank digital currency. So I would say that people who value their freedom might want to get their hands on some Bitcoin before the system of digital control continues to be rolled out. And this is something that the WEF and our quote-unquote elites really want for us. Here's a great example. Governments can program CBDC to restrict undesirable purchases and set expiry dates. In other words, dates when your money expires. This is way, way too much power. And especially we don't want to give it to people like this who look like demons from hell with their expressions. Let Bitcoin be your bank in cyberspace. I think this is great advice from Alejandro in this beautiful picture here. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that subscribe and like button. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.